Welcome to the Noble 2-3 podcast.
You gonna lead it off? How you want to do it?
Yeah, we'll start.
Cool.
I mean, this can actually just be it. Just
Sweet.
kick into it. So, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for coming up here. I really appreciate it. As you know, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and the first episode for that was Joseph Little's, and we got really into dealing with like anxiety and PTSD from just like the calls and stuff that we deal with. And then what hasn't come out yet is Kevin Bates, and we really get into suicide and just like dealing with like the thoughts of it and kind of working our way through just those bad times. So I know like your position is like chief of mental health, or not mental chief, chief of
I'm chief
health
of health and safety.
Yeah,
but
so on that note of like, where do you see like mental health is like in our culture?
You know, I think over the past probably 5 to 7 years, it's been one of the top discussions in the fire service. You know, you look at what's trending as far as training and that kind of stuff, and I think mental health has really been one of the top. If you go to like FDIC or any of a lot of your classes, a lot of them are on mental health, and it's such a new thing, I guess, in the culture of the fire service is actually, you know, getting past the suck it up, you know, let's roll past this thing. And it's interesting how, you know, the perspective, I think that each person, the way they, you know, their background, like Bates and some of the guys that were in the military, and probably their exposure to things, and Little, just first of all, the podcast is great.
Thank you.
It's been really neat just listening to the lives of our firefighters and getting to kind of know them and stuff that I didn't know about. And so back to the mental health thing, I think it's super important, and the younger generation coming up, that's all they know now. Like, I think we talk about it. I know in the recruit schools we really introduce the SISMs, and, you know, talking about the hot washes.
What is a SISM for those who don't know?
Basically, so there's different levels of. I'll kind of go over like a for us, the mental health program. We're developing it right now. So you have your basic awareness, which is some things that we want to add into the officer programs to, you know, as your umbrella of leadership grows, we need to be paying attention more and more to this, you know, mental health and supporting our folks that we serve. And so you kind of start out at the basic level of just what is mental health, how in the fire service and public safety in general, how does it affect, what kind of to expect. So even at recruit school, we give them just the basics of, hey, you know, you're going to run difficult calls. We're going to have to deal with it. Everybody comes from different backgrounds. And then it goes into more of the peer support. So that's a program that we're building right now. We've got some classes coming up soon as far as building that peer support. That's really where the boots like hit the ground running, and that's at like the station level. That's that personal level, I think, is where the success is not from the top. I think it's out in the stations, out on the streets. You know your personnel, your crewmates. You know them better than I would know them. So you know what to look for, what's normal, what's not normal. So that peer level, I think, is the most important, and we're developing that. I can speak for our organization. It's in the development program. We do have a team, but we could do a lot better.
I'd love to be a part of that.
Yeah, well, we're getting ready to put some stuff out as far as there's some classes that we're trying to get about 30, and the state has called about at the beginning of next year doing a class for us to host it, and which I requested to at least have, you know, over half of our personnel being able to sit in on that, because it doesn't matter what level of leadership you're in. it's still the same information. It's just affecting different people, whoever your peers are at whatever point of your career that you're in. So at that peer level, that's really where the money's at, that we see the most of. And then getting into like, how do we deal with it? Your more advanced programs of where the success is in the programs is really what's the next step past, okay, we figured out that we have a problem. And then your SISMs, so typically we do a critical incident stress, like a debriefing after big calls, and that's typically the shift after the call. And I know some of y'all have been involved in them.
I've been in one.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, the fear that I have, especially being responsible for the program, is people not being involved in it. So where we're at, like the hot wash, like directly after the call, we try to get folks back to their comfort zone, back to the station. And luckily, with the support of admin, is we take you out of service as long as we can. If the county's blowing up, we obviously, our mission first is running calls. But we like to take everybody out of service. And I tell them, we can talk about it or not. This is your time to just kind of defuse, just kind of take a deep breath. More times than not, it really opens up right then. And folks really start talking. And typically this is around the kitchen table. And you'll have your one or two that are kind of standoffish. And then all of a sudden you'll see them come sit at the table and they realize we don't have to hold hands. This isn't a weird time.
It's not all kumbaya.
It's time to talk about it.
Yeah.
And really where I see the benefit in this program is it puts those pieces of the puzzle together that are void, right? So I think as humans, especially as, type A personalities, the folks that are in public safety, we feel like we have to fill that void with something. And usually it's thinking about the worst case scenario, like, oh, this happened, we're not doing an operational debrief, but we're just kind of, what did you see about it? Your perspective of the call, instead of filling those voids with, oh, I bet I screwed up doing this, or I screwed up doing that. It's really, everybody just kind of talks from their perspective of, hey, I was on scene. We kind of roll through a basic one during the hot wash, and then after usually a shift, we don't want it to go too far because then it's a lot of folks are having a difficult time pretty quick, so we don't want it to go 2 or 3 shifts before
Right.
we do it. But in the hot wash, it's just kind of, dude, what happened? Not tactics, not what did you do, but like, what was that all about? What did you see? What did you see? And it's amazing what you learn right there, and you start putting those pieces of the puzzle together, and then folks are like, oh, it makes me feel better because I didn't mess up, or I didn't even notice that. And then when we go into the SISM, which is the more formal, your hot wash is more informal, sitting around the kitchen table. If the call's, I don't want to say bad enough, if it's affected a lot of folks, and we really kind of take the temperature of the room and see where it's at, we may do the SISM where we'll call in like Dr. Nancy. She's phenomenal. She loves the fire service and understands where we come from and how messed up we are, I guess. And so she gets it. And other teams from other counties will come in and help. And basically we tell our personnel, we want you to be there. Like, we really want you to be there. Some of them don't want to be there.
I didn't want to.
That's fair.
Yeah, I didn't want to go to the one for Officer Burson.
Yeah.
That
was a
the
big one.
anniversary came up, and I remember Chief Robinson came by. He says, like, hey, we're going to go there. I was like, what is this all about? Like, I didn't want to do it, and then it ended up being, like, helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a big one. That was a unique one to be a part of, just from law enforcement side, from the fire side of the guys that responded. Y'all responded out there, but so when we sit down, most folks get involved. We'll kind of we'll circle up, and we'll kind of give the ground rules of what's going on. Here's some ground rules, and usually it's if you get up to go to the restroom, somebody's going to follow you just to make sure you're okay. We don't really want to go to the bathroom with you, but we will if you need it. But and we kind of start out from dispatch. So we really try to include. We've gotten better, I guess you could say, of including dispatch, because they're, as you know, dispatch, they get the information that they receive, and sometimes we receive information from dispatch that's totally wrong, but that's
right.
what they got. So
but all they hear is voices,
yeah,
and they never get to get
absolutely
the closure of it all.
Yes. So
Yeah.
the follow-up, which is we'll talk about in a minute, that's super important. And so it's super helpful when we have our dispatchers there, because they start that ball rolling of the 911 call. And they have to weed through the craziness, of course, to get the important information to give to us as quick as they can. And then we'll go with like the first arriving units. And typically we go all the way through to once we get every apparatus in or responding units in. And you can skip if you don't want to talk, that's fine. And the good thing about these is, by law, we can't say anything. So let it out. We talk about whatever. And a lot of times it gets emotional, and not necessarily like crying or anything, but there's that different, we grieve different, everybody grieves differently. So
Absolutely.
And it shows, I think, each person that we're real, and all of us, we grieve differently. So once we go through around the circle, we ask, does anybody else want to talk? And typically everybody starts talking, and they realize, okay, this isn't weird. And it's not all about emotions and let's poke the emotional bear. But it's really just getting stuff out and filling those voids. And typically after that, we really talk about how to deal with it, some signs that you may see come up, and what to expect in the next few days, how to get past those difficult times. And then it closes out. It's like, is there any questions? And a lot of times they're quick, and sometimes they're pretty long. Once people really get involved and start talking back and forth, and those are really good. And I think most folks that leave feel good about it. When they leave, they're like, this is definitely not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually, it was
a good experience.
Yeah.
And then I actually ran into, one of the guys from Sandy Springs that I had run calls with back when I was down at AMR working in Sandy Springs. So it was cool to catch up with him too. And we had run a really bad call for another guy off of 285.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually asking about him. I was like, hey, how did he turn out? And he goes, oh, dude, he had full recovery. And I was like, man, that's awesome. It's good to know.
They are super helpful. They have a really good team.
Yeah.
And they come and help us out a good bit. We've been down there a couple times. But I think talking about it is it's just important to just talk about it. When I came into my position, I was in the field for 17 and a half years, and was in the South End most of my career. So I came from 19s, and which was a great house to be at. I loved being the captain down there. And when I came up, they said, hey, part of what you're responsible for is mental health. And I was like, crap. Well, I mean, besides being a people person,
yeah,
I don't feel qualified for this. And what I found is I've really loved that aspect of the job. And I think it's just hanging out and talking and getting to know each other and just talking through things. And then obviously refer folks to somebody to get help.
Right, yeah.
Because I am not that guy.
Yeah.
But it's really been good having the support with admin, and it's still growing. We're not there yet. We're even.
Well, I mean, you were in a newly created position as well.
Yeah, so
It was
developing, yes, because as far as that position has been around for a long time, but not in the capacity that it is now. And everybody that was in it before me really brought a lot of strengths in developing those programs. That wasn't me by any means. The guy that was there before me has a lot of experience, who I respect a lot, who I would consider a mentor in the fire service.
Talk about Stoney.
Stoney, dude.
Yeah.
Whenever you talk with Stoney, you had his attention. I always respected that. Like he really, everything would drop, and I think that's important.
I wish he stayed around longer.
Like
Stoney Bowles.
He's just a good dude. Yeah, and before, it's funny how it went back and forth, because McPherson, even back to Chief Robinson, used to be the health and safety guy, and I think why we have so much support, is just because of the experience there. And but as this develops, it's kind of like everything else. It's just kind of developed into the way it has for our organization, and it just works. And then sometimes we find out it doesn't work, so let's try something else. And right now with the mental health, behavioral health program, that's really where we're at, is what's working. We know we need to dive in deeper. We've got some training coming up, and it's super important. When we talk mission first, whether that's responding to calls, of course that's what our job is. And even on the admin side of things, command staff, I'm blessed to work alongside folks that know that we're there to support the field in everything that we do, and it's mentioned constantly. And so I feel like this program, it keeps you guys going. It's taxing to be, after these calls, like you're just tired. I know after, we've had several really bad calls, and man, when I got home, I was just exhausted from the emotions of going through, being upset of, our personnel going through hard things, where I really didn't feel affected by it myself because I wasn't there, but just seeing them affected by it was just like, it just wears you out.
Yeah.
Which is good, because that means, you're hopefully
you care.
doing your job. Yeah. So when you really give it 100%, and it's growing. I'm learning too. I'm still getting training on this stuff, and so are the rest of our folks. So we don't have everything figured out, but I think our intent is in the right direction. The support is where it needs to be, and we're growing as a department as a whole. But just as people, it's getting to know each other, and realizing there's so many different folks that we work with that come from so many different backgrounds.
Right.
And it's almost humorous when you look at a crew and all the different backgrounds and how they all come together to work, and then dealing with all the personnel issues, that you come from the house that you're bringing home. And that's one thing that I think that we lack, is dealing with our families. So like we really want to build a program to be able to support our spouses, family members, a lot more, and give them the understanding of what we're going through. Because it's funny, when just listening to different people talk about, do you talk to your spouse about this? Do you talk to your spouse about that? Some guys are like, nope, I don't want to bring it home, and I get it.
Yeah.
I tell my wife everything.
Yeah.
And
I'm the same way.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, like I'll keep it kind of PG-13.
Yeah.
I don't go into like the grittiness of some stuff, but like, yeah, I will talk about things.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I need to say something.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important, because they're your support, support. Like there's no way I'd be where I am now without my wife's support.
Oh, same here.
And just, hey, what would you do in this situation? Or she's like, yeah, I wouldn't do that or whatever, you know. So it's good to have that support system at home. And one thing I've also learned is really the behavioral health thing is so unique because it's kind of a pendulum to where it swings back and forth of emotion and then, you know, resiliency. And we have to teach both, right? Because it's easy to get that seesaw down all the way on emotion, and you can over emotionalize the behavioral health program, where it's like, man, if you're not crying and just, if you don't have a jacked up life, you didn't really do the job well, you know.
Yeah.
Because you hear some people and it's
Yeah.
like, you're like, holy crap, man, I didn't realize that, you know, you were affected this much. And then some folks you talk to and you're like, it's not like you have to be jacked up
Yeah.
to be good at your job. You know, like you've seen this and you've seen that, and I finally got to the point where I have PTSD. Now I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm successful
I mean, it's,
as a firefighter. I don't
Right.
know. I mean, it sounds crazy.
yeah. The salty firefighter. who's
Yeah, the
seen,
salty
Yeah,
firefighter.
who's seen hundreds of bad calls. It's like
Yeah.
now he has that status of legitimization
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So,
But I mean, all it takes is just one call.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the that cup that sometimes it fills up faster. You know, Gerald Richmond did a phenomenal job of teaching.
Yeah, that was a great class.
Yeah, he did a great job. And when he talks about that, you know, that cup, and of course, a lot of other folks that teach it do too. You know, it's kind of like spiking a bag, and sometimes it's a slow drip, and then sometimes the bottom of the bag falls out. You know, and it just overflows it all at once.
Yeah.
And I think really for me, like having my spouse that I talk to, she knows me. So like she knows if, all right, we probably need to chat about it, or my crewmates will know, you know, and can say, hey man, I feel like your cup's filling up pretty fast. And it's just about, I think, talking about it, doing something to start emptying that cup out. And a lot of times I think folks fill the cup up even more trying to pour it out, you know, in different ways of filling that void of hurt or whatever with the wrong way, you know, whether it's drugs, alcohol, any, you know, like overdoing it in life. And it's a tough thing in public safety because you know, I'm on a 40 now, so it's a tough schedule, you know.
Get that hard, rough life.
Going, yeah. But you know, everything that they teach you to take care of yourself, you know, is you got to eat right. You know, we need to get sleep. Don't do this, don't do that. And it's like the fire service, in general, the fire service is like, we're going to do all of those. We're going to not sleep. We're going to, you know, shove our faces full when we can and eat as quick as we can before the next call comes out, you know, and everything, it's like everything we're doing is fighting against us, our bodies, you know, and it takes a toll on us, you know. The sleep thing is insane. Like I know when I went to a 40, man, sleep changes things. It just does. And I didn't realize how much it changes things.
You had just been off of
Yeah,
your
just being
schedule had been off for
shift
so
and
long.
working 48s or doing whatever, you know, it's like you're actually sleeping. And
Like, holy crap!
and
I
it
feel
puts
better.
everything, it puts everything on back on a schedule. Your eating schedule, you know, just getting that rest is so important. You know, and it takes a toll on us. It really does. But I think we're learning in the fire service how to take care of that better. You know, we're trying to build the fitness program right now, and by doing the physicals, and you know, we're really going towards that direction of rewarding fitness, rewarding, you know, the healthy lifestyles. We've got some folks that are going to get trained in being like a certified trainer that our personnel can utilize So
Okay. Yeah, I know Bates is doing that on his own
yeah,
too, just wanting to learn how to train people and just like be better off like physically. That's awesome.
yeah. So I've leaned heavily on like Henderson, Lieutenant Henderson, um, and a lot of his guys have done a phenomenal job. You know, because that's one of those things I'm responsible for. And I mean, I know what, you know, people see me and they're like, man, that is just a specimen of health right there, right? So to my weaknesses, I find those guys that this are their strengths, and it's really helped having that, um, the field personnel take buy-in, and that's where the program's going to be successful anyway. You know, I kind of organize things, get them what they need, talk about the budget. You know, this is what we have to spend, and they rock that program out. Same thing with the behavioral health. I've got a field guy, and then it's like I think that's where the success of the programs come from, is just from our field personnel that take buy-in, because that's where the success is. You know, they're the ones doing the hard work. So we're working on it. We're getting there. You know, we're talking about the awarding, you know, for like the PPST, doing the fastest crew, the fastest, you know, shift and that kind of stuff. And after talking with folks, a lot of people are excited about it, you know, just to kind of throw some competition in there, because those guys are insane that do it in like 4 minutes.
That's
3 minutes and something. I don't know. It's insane.
just full on sprint the
Yeah,
entire
but
time.
it's just adding that competition,
Yeah.
you know, and that it tightens a crew up, you know, when you try to compete with other crews. It's I think it's going to be a healthy thing. That
Always
you know.
bring competition in, and it
Absolutely.
fuels things up. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. So it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch the programs develop, with the guys really taking off with it. So I'm excited to see where it goes in the next couple of years. You know, the behavioral health program, to see where that goes. And you know, I'm really there just to support however I can, and I'm learning too. So it's been a good ride so far. I've been in this position for a couple years, and I learn something new all the time, especially about our personnel. It's amazing the talent that we have, that help the organization run, and it's been fun. It's been fun getting to know folks. So
That's awesome. Um, so like with the whole mental health thing, excuse me, where do you kind of see it, like not necessarily like just within like the first responder community, but like the nation as a whole? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I think you have to be careful about how we handle things, for sure. You know, I think we need to handle it in the most common sense way of everybody's different. You know, I think we personally, I think we over medicate. It's that void that people are really trying to fill, and you know, everybody looks at what's the real problem. You know, and it's just trying to fill that void. You know, I personally, you know, through faith, I'm able to feel it helps me out a lot, because I don't have to ask the question why. A lot of times I'm like, you know what, I'll leave that to the Lord. I'll blame the Lord.
I blame you.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, He's got a plan, and I'm just here to do my best of what my talents are, and it helps me not personalize it so much. So you know, I don't know. I think everybody, you know, when you look nationwide, there's a problem, you know, with mental health. It's getting help is an issue, and I think a lot of it boils down to money. You know, what's going to be covered, what's not. I think it's what is an issue and what's not. What you know, what are people trying to get out of it? You know, I think we're going to go through difficult times, and I think as we've kind of gotten weak, you know, as far as trying to fix everything, like everything should be perfect, and you know, life is tough, and we just have, you know, we have to learn how to deal with it, in a positive way. So it just depends. I don't know what the goal is for everybody with mental health. I think different people come from different perspectives. They see it, differently. And I don't know what their goal is. Is it to fix them 100%, to where like everything's perfect and nothing's wrong? Or is it, sometimes life sucks. Life's difficult. We go through things that are going to be difficult, and learning how to deal with it. It's, the easy way out is the easy way out sometimes. And I think a lot of, especially getting into like suicide, not being able to deal with things. And I think we see a lot of it just because it's the easy way out. They don't want to have to go through the hard.
Just give them a prescription and.
Yeah, just numb them.
Yep. I mean, that's
we'll
what
deal
the VA
with it later.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't serve. So, obviously I've seen the effects of dealing with PTSD and like suicide and that kind of stuff. But I know that a lot of times they just throw meds at it, or just try to suppress it for a little while and not deal with it. But I don't know if a lot of people really know how to deal with it. Like I said, I don't know what their goal is and what that end result is. Is it happiness? Is it, life being perfect? I don't know, because you're never going to reach that.
Yeah.
It'd be
never be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I think we have a unique opportunity, to really pour into each other. One of the things I really miss is that 24/48 schedule, where you have that crew, and I think we're lucky in that we can hang out with each other for 24 hours, and a lot of that issues that we have get talked out over the table and just spending time with each other.
Solve the world's problems at the kitchen table.
That's it.
Yeah.
All of them. Man.
Yeah.
All of them. And I think a lot of folks isolate themselves these days. Like there's so much depression and all this, and it's, if you're on social media constantly, you're comparing yourself to folks. Well, you're never going to be that. So you're
Right.
always going to be depressed. I guess. I don't know. I'm not.
Someone's always fitter. Their car's always nicer.
Absolutely.
Better
So
house.
it's like you're
yeah.
comparing yourself to other people, and that's not who we are. I mean, we are, each of us are individuals and created for a purpose, and that's our purpose. You are what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Don't compare yourself to other folks, and it's hard to do.
It is hard, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. I think just as you grow up, you just tend to care less what other people think. But it's like so important, like when you're younger, to like want to be wanted or want to be liked.
Absolutely.
And nowadays, it's like, who cares? Like, I'm a Star Wars nerd. Like, whatever. Like, what of it?
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, who cares?
And I think naturally we all, obviously want to be liked.
Right. Yeah.
At some level. But yeah, I think the older you get, you realize that it really doesn't matter a whole lot. But yeah, I think.
I mean, like, especially like kids growing up these days, like, where all they know is like the digital age of social media. Like,
it's scary.
It is.
Just from like the exposure to the law enforcement side of things, a lot of the crimes against children and things like that. Like, it's scary. Like, I've got 3 boys, so I've been married for 21 years, and we have 3 boys that are 16. 14 and 12, and they're right in the middle of that awkward stage of like middle school and high school, and learning technology, and it's scary because you don't want them to. You get sucked into social media and just the internet in general, and it's like the downfall. I think comparing yourselves to everybody. And you're never going to live up to that. That's because that's not who you're created to be, as that person. So I think raising boys to be men is very difficult in an age of instant gratification, just worried about what their mental health is going to be. Like, if it's tough for us, it's going to be insane when they get older, just because of all the, I guess, the newer issues with just everybody isolating themselves. Like, a lot of the kids don't even they don't even hang out anymore, because they just like FaceTime each other or whatever.
Text instead of call.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, and
yeah.
and so and that's just a horrible. Like, to me, it's like when we see the newer generation coming in and they don't know how to communicate with each other, or like patient care, they don't know how to initiate that conversation. It's just because they haven't had to do that a lot, I guess. Like face to face.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see this next generation, but it's up to us to raise them right.
So how are you as a father raising boys in a world that's hating on masculinity?
I have an amazing wife that is a beast of a mom. That no, it takes a lot of research, and really going against the grain in a lot of things. So my oldest is 16, and we gave him a phone going into his freshman year. That was the first time he had a phone. We didn't give him Google and all that stuff, and I get it. Kids are smart; they can get around things if they want, but I can't control that. So it's the trust thing,
Right.
and we've chosen our boys coming up. Their fifth grade year, it was kind of like a Bible study. It was just about life, and how to deal with the things that they're gonna have to deal with over the next, for the rest of their life, really. And we felt that that fifth grade year, they're not too cool yet. They're still young, but most kids have been exposed to crazy stuff by the time they're in, fifth grade. But just teaching them how to combat things, and whether it's what to do on the internet, what not to do on the internet, what to taking pictures. Oh man, I'm so glad we didn't have like phones when I was a kid. You've got those stories, but no records, and that's amazing. But
Thank God.
yeah, so it's really difficult if you put all your heart into it, of raising men, and it's just difficult to, sometimes they were the last kids in their class. Like, my two youngest ones have the Apple Watches that are locked down, And I know they could probably unlock things or whatever, but we've just chosen not to give them technology until, at least high school. And a lot of that's just because, like, my oldest is driving, so just being able to communicate. And we tell them, y'all have this stuff for us to get a hold of you. It's not for your enjoyment, because y'all have the rest of your life to be stuck on a cell phone or a computer, whatever. But no, it's I love raising boys. I'd rather have 5 boys than 1 girl, just because I wouldn't know what to do with a girl, But it's been fun, and they're in a fun age. They're in a difficult age, and I think every season of life, the ages of your kids, it's difficult. Whether it's having to change diapers or talk about difficult things with your kids that they're experiencing at school, and we really just tried to be real with them. And if they have questions, if they ask, what does this mean? What does that mean? They know that they can come to us and ask. And we're honest with them. I'd rather teach them what things mean than
Have somebody else
for
teach
their
it.
buddies' phone to be teaching.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Yeah.
what things mean. So, no, it's been fun. It's like I said, I lean heavily on my spouse. She's amazing and reads all the books, and I have to listen to podcasts and listen to things because it's tough to do it right. We've raised them in church, and that's been I've got good kids. I know that they're gonna do crazy things or whatever, but we've just tried to do our best in a crazy world. But the whole masculinity thing it's a crazy time. And I think they know who they are. I mean, they're going to learn things as they go, but we don't, like I said, we don't beat around the bush with it. Like, it's important for them to grow up to be men. That's the way I look at it. To do what men do, to do the right thing, And
But I mean, it seems like a lot of what we were growing up on is like now toxic or not not admired as well as it was
oh yeah,
once was.
yeah. Well, I mean, when we were kids, you could go run out and be home when the street lights come on.
Yeah.
Now it's you're overprotective of your kids because we used to the ice cream man come around, dude. I get excited about that junk. Now it's like, is that really the ice cream man?
Yeah. Didn't think about that.
Yeah. But I mean, I still like the ice cream man. But you're just protective of your kids because there's so much just junk in the world. They can get exposed to, and it's hard. You don't want to be that helicopter parent, but I'm gonna protect my kids. I know what's out there, and especially in public safety, we see a lot of things, and it's important for us to protect our families, but teach them how to deal with life too. Even even talking about mental health with the kids. It's amazing what they come home talking about. This person and this person has this mental issue, and I'm like, dude, you're in like 5th grade, man, like 4th grade, and I don't ever remember that having to deal with it. I feel bad for my kids, with the things that they have to deal with, and I guess the things that they're exposed to so early in life, their brains aren't developed. I mean, most of our brains are still developing in the fire service, but it's just you want them to make good decisions that aren't going to affect, bad decisions that are going to affect them for the rest of their life. So it's difficult. I feel bad for this generation coming up, and it's our responsibility, to raise them right. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't do everything right. That's for dang sure.
Just try your best.
I try. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try my best, but it's difficult if you really, are trying. So
like when you're out with your family and everything, like I'm guessing like you conceal carry and everything too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the guy that Carrie always laughs at me. That like has to face the door. I'm like looking at exits. We have a plan. Like if something goes.
Yeah, I like
down.
to not have my back to the door.
Yeah, so I like to have paying attention to what's going on and sit in what seat that I could draw best, the quickest with, and have the best angle or whatever. I think
You're taking it on another level. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that. And I think it's important to know, pay attention to your dang surroundings. You
Yeah.
know?
So many people are like just the AirPods in all the time
Yeah.
and just constantly like in the
not
phone.
paying attention at all. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's I absolutely do. Most of the time I carry is I think it's important. I guess my mindset's if I'm with my family is a little bit different. It's more of that protection side of things, to where if something went down, you just want to get them out of a situation. But then when you're not around your family, it's like, man, if something goes down, I got it, man.
Pounce.
It's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm a gun dude, so
Guns are awesome.
yeah.
So like the other side of your job, like the SWAT medic side, kind of like leaning into the gun stuff and everything, like guns and gear and everything like that, like
Yeah.
and it kind of what I was kind of getting at earlier with like the whole like mental health thing being like on the nationwide is just like a lot of people think that it's not really a gun problem, it's a mental health problem that is leading to these mass shootings.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. There's typically when you see these active killing situations, they're not stable people. There's some kind of a mental issue there, and it's I think it's going to happen more and more. We're getting ready to actually next week we'll be putting our folks through training. We're going to be running it with SOs doing active shooter stuff. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody gets something out of it. We've worked really well with law enforcement as far as running the rescue task force stuff, and I think we've had really good feedback. Because if something does go sideways, we're going to have to work together, and we've got a unique relationship, I think, at our department with the sheriff's office. And it's it's good training, and it's great to be able to train together for 3 days.
I just thought about this. Like, what about the idea of putting like TECC or TCCC into recruit school at the very end?
Dude, I'm down for it. I love that stuff. Yeah, which
Get a good
it's like,
foundation,
yeah, I think
and then
so.
they're actually walking out with a certification as well.
Right. And we talked about doing it for the county, but it's like a 2-day class.
Yeah, it's not long.
I think it's a time thing, for like doing all of incumbent, but yeah, it's a great class. I mean, just people skill. Just dude, you're a human. You should know how to fix yourself. Whether
Yeah.
you're tactical or whatever. And if you tote a gun, like you need to know how to work on yourself. Like med is important. You've got to add that in to everything. I mean, I think it's a great idea to add something like that into a recruit program. It's because if I think, and it's interesting you mentioned TECC. That program was, I feel like it was developed for us as EMTs and medics to put ourselves in that tactical environment or that active shooter type of a environment, and now law enforcement's teaching it a lot to their personnel, which is
What's
great.
that stand for again? It's like
Tactical emergency casualty care.
Yeah.
And it's similar, like if you're in the military, like CLS, the Combat Lifesaver, or TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care. There's so many different med programs, but it's just at different levels, really. So like all of our SWAT medics have gone through, it's TMP, which is the Tactical Medical Provider, but it's basically a TCCC and K9 TCCC. We've actually got a couple of guys right now up at Contoms, which is a legit medic class up in New York.
Comtoms?
Contom. So it's like a counterintelligence medic.
Okay.
Like, yeah, so it's just an advanced class for,
Okay.
for like in the tactical world. But yeah, so we're branching out with our training, trying to get our guys as trained up as we can. But it's a great program. It's growing. It's developing. We've the SWAT Medic program it's been around. I got on the team in 2008. So it's really developed since then. And it's a great way for us to support, the guys on the team. We stack up with the rest of the operators as the medic, usually the last guy on the stack. And
you guys are recently mandated too.
Yeah,
now.
so 3 of us went to mandate, and which was a great program, and luckily our administration supported it. They really want to move forward with it, and it's great to have that support. And it's honestly, when you look at it, it's sad that we need that kind of stuff, but it gets medical folks on the X quicker as far as doing point of wound care, being able to throw tourniquets and chest seals, being able to pack wounds and stuff. So it just allows us to get closer and being trained to be in that environment. So if something goes south, we can take what we do and put it in whatever environment we need to. So we've got some
can't talk, but it probably also gives you a level of comfort too, just knowing that now you got a weapon to at least take care of yourself.
So
worst case scenario that.
Yeah. So for almost 14 years ish, 13 years, we didn't, and we still have some guys that don't carry or that aren't mandated.
That sounds crazy to me. Going into that level of a situation without any kind of weapon.
Yeah, but I don't know how to compare it. You feel safe with the guys that you train with, right? I don't want to compare it to like a truck crew going in without a hose line. You just don't think about it. I don't know. You're around the guys you train. We go through all the training that they go through. It's all offered to the medics as well, and you just have that trust, that if it goes south, they're going to take care of you, and they also know that we're there to take care of them. So, yeah, having the ability to carry on the scene, which is, we don't carry on shift. So it's just like if there's a SWAT call, pretty much is when we're armed. But it's good because what it allows us to do is the team doesn't have to drop somebody as our guard, so it keeps guns downrange, if you will, to where we can take care of ourselves if something happened.
Right.
So that's kind of an advantage to that. And it's nice having a gun in a tactical environment.
Yeah.
You can shoot back. But that's not our primary. Our primary is protect ourselves and protect our patient.
Right.
That's why we have a weapon. We're not one of the guys we're not stacked up as a shooter.
Right, but I mean, at least just having like a sidearm at the very least, just to be able to like control your room and yeah, exactly.
It is a comfort.
Absolutely.
Because you're sizing up all the other guys. You're looking at their sidearm. If something goes south, man, that's mine, baby.
Like a video game, just like pick it up.
Pick it up and go.
Mine now. So like the medical side and everything, like what are you guys like primarily focused on for like those that don't know?
So our most of it's BLS stuff, right? So it's tourniquets, wound pack, and chest seals, just the basic stuff. And more often than not, it's taking care of the guys on the team, not in a tactical environment. Like being in training, you're the doc for them. So it's the little things. You're watching out for them because when the bell goes off and everybody gets that notification, their mindset's where it needs to be. They go into that mode of work mode, and sometimes they don't pay attention to things. And like, dude, I've been sick for so long and I've had diarrhea for 5 days, and now I'm like, but we got a call out. I'm dehydrated. So it gives us the opportunity to get to know each operator, and we can tell it's like a crew. This guy's not doing so well. I need to watch him. And I think they're going to push further in the fight, knowing that they've got a medic there. So obviously our primary is just to support them medically, and to support the citizens as well, because it gives us medical quicker to the citizens if something happens. Our primary is the team, but we're also medics, so it gives us that getting med closer to where folks are wounded. So it just gets us closer.
Right. So you're carrying like a lot of combat gauze, seals.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we do. When we have our like our blowout kits on us, to where we can handle several officers if needed, or several patients. And then of course in our bags we carry, if we got sent out to like a mass casualty situation. Now we don't have enough to keep up with a mass casualty, but we can take care of a lot of patients. And one of the cool things about the SWAT medics is, man, they're great at triage. So like we train a lot in owning the CCP, the casualty collection point, and being able to manage chaos and then triaging all the patients in an environment that has a lot of patients. So we're really good at that. But we're medics, just like y'all. I mean, just like everybody else. We're paramedics. We're just acting in a different environment,
right?
With a little bit more training. So as a program moving forward, we want to expand the team, offer it as like a special operations thing that folks can move into. And I know it's difficult because we only have so many positions right now. We've only got 6 on the team, but in the future we plan on having everybody like at the same station, to where it can be an on-shift response, to where when you're off, unless something major happens or there's a training or something like that you need to be at. But the goal is to expand the team. You don't want it to be too big, just because a special operations team like that, you don't want it to get too big, because you kind of lose that intimacy of a team of I don't know, can you use that word with dudes? But you lose that just crew mentality of we got 28 medics, they don't know you. These guys are calling you like on your days off, hey, my kid's sick, I mean, you're a team, so
Yeah.
it's a good thing. It's been a great experience, just watching it develop. Now we've thrown policies to it, and really trying to be more organized, or at least legit, and to give everybody an opportunity to be able to go into that, if they choose to, as a special operations option.
So for anybody who would want to, like, is there like a minimum like fitness requirement? I'm assuming there is.
Um, yeah, so we do a 24-hour tryout, and it's pretty tough. For any of the folks that have been through it could tell you it's difficult, and you kind of take everything that we would do on different operations and combine it into 24 hours. It's some fun training. It's a great time, but obviously there's tons of PT. I guess it's like flames or smoke dive or anything like that. Like, the skills that you're performing are you're learning stuff. It's fun, but then the PT in there is where we really want to see where your mindset's at. And it takes a certain person to be able to conform with that team. You've got to have that teamwork personality. We got to know that you're going to be able to push through things, some pain, and because we don't have the option of just ducking out, as soon as it gets difficult. So
Right.
it's hopefully we'll be expanding, that the team in the near future, but we kind of wait on them to do the tryout, and then put our guys through it at the same time. So our medics do everything that our team guys do, and I think that's been one of the things that's helped really keep the team close, is because we do what they do.
Do you guys, like, just as the medics alone, do you guys like have a workout plan that you guys like stick to kind of have like minimum standards?
Not really. I mean, some of the guys work at, I mean, like at training, they do PT before, every training. But typically, like if we had a tryout coming up, we try to give everybody. I know there's been times when we didn't have a whole lot of information to give out, and it was because we didn't get a whole lot of information. And it's your basic running, sit-ups, pull-ups, just cardiovascular strength. I mean, it's your basic stuff. But we don't have a specific program.
Okay. I didn't know, like, for anybody who was like interested in doing it or trying to, even like another department, just trying to get ready for something like that, like a recommendation or.
Yeah, a vest, working out in a vest. I mean, it kind of changes things. It's like working out in gear,
Right.
So when you work out in a vest, it just kind of changes stuff. So getting used to running in a vest, sit-ups, pull-ups in a vest.
So do you regularly like work out like in your gear?
I did.
Okay.
Like I'm not at. Well, I'm milking a knee right now.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we usually at training, it's everybody puts on your vests, or it depends on the day. But yeah, training's in your vest the whole time. Acclimation to the vest. So like when I was training for stuff, it would wear your vest, wear your call out gear, wear a backpack. So like rucks are
Right.
really good, because as the medic, you're toting everything, so rucking is really good. It's a good workout for it, and that's kind of what we do. We
Right.
carry all the gear.
About how much gear, or how much does like your gear weigh?
Our bags are probably 30-ish.
30 pounds.
I mean, it's not that bad.
And then a ballistic
And
vest
then your
is like
ballistic
around 20.
vest, yeah, around 20. Well, it depends on how much kit you have
that's
on
true.
it,
I was just thinking like vest and plates and armor and
Yeah.
everything.
Well, it's like our turnout gear, right?
Yeah.
When you're new, you have like Home Depot aisle 12 in your pockets, and then the older you get, you kind of
Don't need this.
slim
don't
out a
need
little bit, and you're like, that guy's got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the good thing is as firefighters, we're used to toting gear
Right.
and wearing that kind of stuff, so it's not really that difficult of a transition, except for the running in it.
Yeah, running in gear.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a great program, and it's still developing. We're trying to lay the foundation so that years to come, it'll remain a good program and it'll grow, become a better program. So
cool, awesome. So the last thing I typically try and do for like the podcast is like the whole advice thing. Any topic you want, dad advice, mental health advice.
I think I heard this quote is, be where your feet are. Just be in the moment, wherever you're at. It's easy to be on your cell phone or, when you're having a conversation, you're really thinking about something else. But I think, especially in parenting or anything, relationships, just be there where you're at. Don't check out, pay attention. It matters. I think a lot of times folks just want to know they're being listened to. So that it's helped me, and I'm not perfect at it as well. It's easy to get distracted when you got 1,000 things to do, but I think just being where you're at and kind of seizing that moment for wherever you're at. So
cool.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Hey,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I appreciate it. Y'all are doing a great thing here, so
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, bye, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please follow us on your favorite podcast app, hit that bell for notifications on new episodes, and please share with a friend. Thank you for all the support so far. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.